Okay, let me just introduce myself very quick. Hi, everyone. My name is Aicha, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I'm in M365 advocacy. I'm specifically focusing on Microsoft Graph and Teams, but I have 4 years background of working with actually Colade's team in the customer engineering. So I work a lot with Azure, especially application services with bots, web apps, and so on. So today I'm super excited to be here, and I'll be discussing with you Microsoft Graph and Power Automate solutions. In this session, we will really deep dive into some of the scenarios we can build using both of the solutions. So let's get started. So why did I pick Power Automate for this session? First of all, it's quite important, especially this time, because all of us are trying to work from home and we are trying to be connected all the time with work. And at the same time, it's sometimes quite hard to be productive. When you're at home, you just spend a lot of time on other stuff. So it would be really nice to have more data and insights from M365 environment. That's why we will just start with M365 platform overview, and also we will jump into Graph. What is Graph? If you're new to Graph, I'll just share a couple of resources for you to learn about Graph and how to consume that in your apps, Power Apps, flows, and wherever you like. And then we will jump into Graph and Power Automate kind of scenarios, and we will just discuss why it's important and what are the opportunities there for us. So I'm just gonna start with M365 platform. So for the ones who don't know, or maybe you just used the products before, I just want to have a quick intro of Microsoft Graph and the role it plays within M365 platform. Microsoft Graph is the developer experience that allows you to create both user-centric and automation workflow processes that interact with M365 services. Think of it as the gateway to M365 data. So the experiences we can create using Graph can be grouped into 3 big categories. First one is user-centric apps. That apps could be like a chatbot helping you with your to-do tasks or sending emails or calendar events and so on. Or it could be background process automation solutions, just like we usually build using Power Automate. And it can be fixing some of the stuff, building all these automations in the background so we don't need to do anything manually. And the last one could be analytics apps. This actually, the entire M365 platform is a big data. So by using all these data, we can create a huge dashboard with all of the insights about what's going on in your M365 platform environment. So there are main areas. These 3 main areas are the quite important ones for us. But today, we're going to be focusing on process and automation solutions using Power Automate. So with Graph, apps and services can leverage incredibly rich data set from M365. When we say M365, it always comes up with Outlook or Calendar or Teams, but there are more than that. Actually, it's quite important to highlight there are hundreds of different data sets in the background of M365. And by using Microsoft Graph API, you can easily reach out to your M365 data. And by using those data, there are different scenarios that you can create. For example, building apps with rich content, you can access deep insights generated from usage patterns such as trending documents, best team meeting times, or who people usually work with. All these data are available in the background of M365 for you. As well as developers can build apps with deep insights based on machine learning algorithms. Of course, these machine learning algorithms will be powered by Microsoft Graph APIs. And my last example could be developers can build apps with real-time updates of the data. This is generally quite useful for the real-time business dashboards. So we consider Graph as gateway to data and intelligence in M365, and it gives developers a unified programmability model, actually, and it takes advantages of huge data set in the background, not only the products we popularly know, but also it includes Office 365, enterprise mobility and security, Windows 10, Dynamics 365, Business Central, and all this data can be reached out with one endpoint, which is Graph. So building app or flow with Graph, how it's going to work and where can we learn about Graph a bit more. If you're new, we have some steps for you. It's recommended, but it's not only way to learn it. Basically, we highly recommend you to go ahead and check Graph documentations first, because there are great tutorials, quick starts available there already. And the second place I highly recommend is the Graph Explorer. It's a free open source tool where we can go sign in with our own account and play around with our own data. So we can just call some Graph APIs and see what's going to be the response. According to that, maybe we can just decide what kind of applications or flows you'd like to build. Then we can start with those APIs. And after that, we just need a registered app in Azure Active Directory just to access your data in M365. Then we will assign permissions. Let's say that you want to reach out to your tasks. Then you need to give permission to tasks. And you want to reach out to calendar. Again, you need to give permission to calendar. After that, we just need to use MSAL for sign-in and get the token from Graph. And the rest is just calling Graph. Either you can call Graph using Graph SDK. If you're building a mobile app, web app, or something like that, you can use SDK. But if you're using Graph in a flow, let's say using Power Automate, then we need to use it as a REST API directly. So this is what we are going to do today. Just to show you a quick overview, I want to give you the places which are quite important in the documentation, as well as I just want to show you how Graph Explorer looks like, and then we will jump into Graph and Power Automate related topics. So I will quickly open my browser. Okay, so it's actually exactly the same link. I will go. It's ak.ms/m-graph. This is the official hub for Microsoft Graph. So if you're new and trying to learn about Graph, I think this is the best place to visit for us, because first of all, we have overview of Graph where we can see all of the documentations available for us. We have services and features. You have direction to Graph Explorer. Then we have all of the REST APIs version 1 and beta. And also in the Explore part, you will see there are quick starts and tutorials. Under quick starts, you will see the prerequisites for each and every language and platform for Graph. If I click on it, I'll be directed to a page where I can choose the language I want to consume Graph, and I will just get the guidance accordingly. Let's say I'm an Angular developer. I click on Angular and see I need to download and install Node.js, and then I can jump into the walkthrough. So this is the quick start part. If you are a learner with the tutorials step by step, there are a lot of tutorials. Actually, there's also a tutorial for Power Automate if you would like to build your own custom connector with using Graph. Then you can also check out this tutorial. It's under the tutorials, and there are a lot of other tutorials available here. So you can check whichever you'd like to, whichever you're interested. And the last thing I want to mention in this page is the developer program. Developer program is giving you free tenant where you can join. As long as you use the account, you will continue keeping the account. It's totally free. And with that tenant, if you're not admin in your account, and if you have problems with the permissions in your organization, then these kind of demo tenants are quite useful for us, because this is a free space where you are the admin and you can reach out all of the resources under M365, and it's great sandbox for testing and building purposes. So if you need any kind of tenant, this is free. You can join this program and get your own free tenant. Let's jump into Graph Explorer. I'll go to ak.ms/dg-explorer. Actually, I could click on the other page, but Anyways, so this is the Graph Explorer. So best part of Graph Explorer is, first of all, you can sign in to Graph Explorer, and after we authenticate with our own account, we can see in the responses, we can get our own data here. Let's just try out together. I'm just going to sign in with my demo tenant I created from developer program. Here, this is my demo tenant. It's signing in. After this point, under the sample queries, I can actually choose any of the Graph API I like to consume, but let's not forget there are hundreds of Graph datasets available here. So it's quite huge dataset we can try. Let's first start with my profile. For example, if I just want to get data of myself, then I can click on my profile. The query will change automatically. It's Graph Microsoft.com and version 1 me. And after that, you'll just see your name, email address, phone number, so on and so forth. If you want to get anything related with calendar, Teams, or whichever data we'd like to consume, then you can type here. And for example, all events in my calendar, I click on it. And of course, you can manually edit this query as well. Then after that, we will automatically get the calendar data for ourselves. All of the calendar events under this account will appear here. The rest is just consuming the data in your applications or Power Automate. You can also do your post, get, patch, delete, anything you like. And if you want to try Graph Beta version, you can do that here too. So it's quite useful tool, especially for learners who just start discovering Graph. I think this is a place where we can try out all kind of APIs, and the rest is just copy paste these APIs and just consume it in our own flows, let's say. So I will turn back to my slides and we will jump into the scenarios, how we can use these Graph APIs. So Graph and Power Automate, why they're better together? I want to highlight that there are three main ways usually we consume Graph in Power Automate. First of all, if you just try to use Power Automate before, you may realize that there are a lot of Microsoft 365 connectors already in there. So we have calendar, we have emails. There are a lot of great connectors you can use to build productive scenarios. So it's quite useful already if you try them out before, or if you're just trying right now, just type Microsoft 365. You will see there are many connectors in place built in for you. The only thing you do is just select the connectors you'd like to use, and then you can just create your own scenario. What kind of scenario we usually create is another question, of course. If you are interested in seeing real life scenarios, there's one from me, which is if you go to aka.ms/graph building connectors Power Automate, you will be directed to this scenario. So on the left side, it's actually my own calendar from my previous role as a consultant, because all of us are working with our customers or in our team and on a product. It's quite, let's say we have a lot of meetings during the day already, and they are recurrent. So we have other meetings, the same meetings next day as well. Sometimes we don't have time to check our own emails. And when there is a new meeting assigned to tomorrow or the next day, there is no time to decline it or just say that I have a conflict. So this is the real case, and it is actually my calendar from March, April, and it was quite busy because of the new COVID situation. And I decided to build this solution for my own calendar. So scenario is Flow manages users' calendar and replies the meeting invites. Of course, using some AI here would definitely improve the solution, but even this way, with Flow, without adding anything, but just using Power Automate building connectors helped a lot. So what we did here just was whenever there's a new meeting in the calendar, and this new meeting will be checked from Power Automate, not from the user, we call Graph to check calendar, and we just see if there's a conflict. If there's a conflict, then we just continue our flow. But if there's no conflict, then we accept the invite. If it is in office hours, then we notify the end user saying that we accepted this invitation. If there's a conflict, then we continue our flow by checking the user calendar. If there are more than 5 events until the end of the day, then we reject the event. We just say decline because it's a quite busy day. If there are less than 5 events, then we say just I'm not available that time, but can we reschedule, and so on. Of course, this can modify according to your customers or your preference, but definitely this scenario helps in many cases. And in this case, user will not do anything but just getting notifications from Teams about if meeting is rejected or if meeting is accepted, or we just send a reschedule request and so on. So let's just see how we build that solution. By the way, if you're interested in building one, you can just go to, as I said, Graph Building Connectors Power Automate. This link has the entire solution step by step. You can build the entire thing by yourself, and it's quite easy. So what we did here, we just check one calendar, and the calendar is assigned to one user. I'm using demo tenant. When there's a new event, we get the event ID, and after that, we just get the calendar view according to the event start and end time if there is any other event at the same time. And we just make sure that event is not duplicate of itself. Then if there is 0 event at the same time, then we accept the event. We send accept to the organizer. And to our user, let's say admin, we just say that this meeting is accepted and added in your calendar. If not, if there's a conflict, we just check if we have any available time until the end of the day. So that's why in the start time, we added end time of the event, and we check rest of the hours. And the condition here, if there are more than 5 events rest of the day, that means that our day is quite busy already. So what we do here is just directly decline the request, and we send decline to the user, and we just notify the end user here. We just notify the admin saying that we declined this. And other than that, if we have less than 5, then we ask end user to reschedule the event, and we notified admin saying that we just ask to reschedule. Let's test this one. And once we test this, this is the calendar of admin. Let's just say that we have 2 different users here. One is admin, and the other one is Ayça, which is me. And admin, as you see, has a pretty crowded calendar here. We have a lot of events already. Let's just try to schedule something at some time which is free. Let's see, 9 a.m. is free. So this is my calendar as Ayça. I'm going to set up some time with me and admin at 9 a.m. So I'm expecting to receive accept. I will invite the admin. Then let's just send the invitation. Yeah, so admin already received a notification from the flow as meeting accepted. Admin needs to do nothing because admin is super busy, and she is already very into customer meetings and so on. She has no time to check her calendar. And at the same time, Ayça, that is me, I already received accepted email on the right side. Let's just click on it. And it's also saying, looking forward to talk to you soon. Let's try to set something which is conflicting at the same day. And we already know that admin's day is fully booked, so probably we will get a decline. I'm just going to create another event at the same hour, so we make sure that we get conflict. I'll invite the admin and send this one. Okay, so admin already received decline notification, and Aicha also received declined to the invitation, and it's just asking, can we do it another day? In the flow, let's just quickly check what happens. We go to if no, and then if yes, and here we already have more than 5 events, and as value, we get everything in a JSON format already. The rest is just creating the flow and using that data somewhere in between. So the final step is just creating something with a conflict and making sure that the day of the admin is kind of free. What I'm going to do is I'll go to March 16th and I will set something conflicting here, but I know that the rest of the day is kind of free, so admin can just say reschedule. So I will go to next day and set up some time. Let's make sure that's 9 a.m. And here, when I create this, this is still a conflict, but in the following day, the entire day is free. So I just probably not get the decline, but I will get reschedule. Okay, so entire day is free, and I already received the reschedule. I'm just going to click yes, and admin will receive notification about reschedule requested. Yeah, so this is, if you would like to check the entire solution, as I said, you can visit the link. But this is it. Without AI, with a very simple Power Automate solution, we can manage our calendar, emails, and actually most of the M365 solutions. So just trying to move. Yeah. What if we would like to do more? Let's say that stuff that we don't have in Power Automate, we have so many different data sets available in Graph, and there are many of them that are not available Power Automate. So the beauty of Power Automate is it's coming with HTTP connector. That means that we are not limited with the components here, but we can also call any of the API we like using HTTP connectors. In that case, I can use any Graph API I'd like in HTTP connector directly without just using the built-in components. In these kind of scenarios, these are actually quite critical because in many of the customer scenarios, especially during the first times of the COVID, we needed to move the entire company, entire ministry of the country to Teams or different M365 platforms. To do that, actually, you need to move many people, like millions of people's accounts, and assign them to Teams policies, let's say. It's not something that we can do manually. It's not like we cannot switch on and off for every single person. What we do is we create Power Automate where we get list of people and automatically assign everyone to Teams license. And these kind of scenarios are, again, critical because doing that manually takes days, maybe months, but to do that with Power Automate, it's just, let's say, half a day. And it really saves a lot of time. In this scenario, just to get the data or assign some stuff, you can create a flow. And I'm just going to say graph flow. And when HTTP request is received here, I'll just create a sample JSON schema. This one can be created from, this one, let me just create it from scratch. Graph flow, okay. This schema can be created from, again, as a copy of Graph Explorer. Whichever data you would like to get, you can just get the schema from there. Next, I will create 3 things. 3 initialized variable. The first one is application ID. So these data are available in Azure Active Directory. I need to create Azure Active Directory app registration so that I'm going to get this data available, and then I will be able to call Graph. The second one will be directory ID. Okay, I'll paste it here. And the last one is secret. With Azure Active Directory, I will get a chance to reach out and get permission to M365 data. That's why I'm creating all those. And finally, I'll just call HTTP connector. And here, I will just call get and the Graph API. Here, you can call any Graph API you like. And for me, I'm just going to get list of people in a group. This one specifically can be copied from Graph Explorer. You can just test it from there first and then get it here so that you know what kind of data you will receive. Here, I will choose a group ID. So I'm looking for a specific group, list of people in a group. So here, I'm just going to expand members. And I'll choose Active Directory Auth. And here, I'm just going to type HTTPS any kind of Microsoft login, actually login.microsoft.com. And next is just adding our directory ID as tenant, application ID as client ID, and secret as secret. So now, let's just test this. I'll perform trigger. And when I run this query, it will call Graph API, and it will get required data. Let's just check what we get. Probably it is like hundreds or the thousands of people in the list. So this is the data we get, and it's a huge amount of data. The rest is just however you'd like to consume this data. You can build an app with it, or you can use in next step automations, or you can build a good looking charts with a Power BI dashboard. So there are a lot of things we can do with this data. And as you see, by using 3-4 connectors, components in Power Automate, it's quite easy to get this amount of data. So finally, there is one more thing I would like to discuss, which is reusing your own connector. Let's say that you call everything, you get all of the graph data using HTTP connectors. It's quite easy to consume with a couple of steps. But again, if you would like to consume same graph API in somewhere else, maybe in another flow, or you would like to consume the connector in some other parts in Power Platform, or again, in the next step of the same flow, then we can create custom connectors using Graph. So it's a great feature from Power Automate. We can just call Graph once in a custom connector, and we can just reuse the custom connector again and again. In this example, for example, I would like to get my list of to-do tasks in Teams as a list. How are we going to do that? First of all, we can just create our connector. This one I created get to do tasks for just getting list of tasks from to do app. And to be able to do that, I actually use Teams choice options, and I just use the data as the options where we're getting data from Graph and posting it to Teams. And the result is going to be our adaptive cart. It's a good looking adaptive cart. If I click any of the buttons here, let's say I want to see more details about one of the tasks, then I can just call Graph again and get more details about my data. And when I call it, the result is going to be details of a specific task. I can see everything, whatever is available under that task, let's say importance level, or if I drop a note, when it is created, what is the status right now, if it is finished or not started yet, and so on. If you want to build something like this, Graph has a great tutorial for creating custom connectors in general, not specifically for To-Do. You can just call any Graph API you like. You can just visit the link here and do that. Let's just check how I built this solution. Okay, so here, under data, we can create custom connectors. And actually, you can create custom connectors not for Graph, but for everything else. If you would like to call any API and reuse these API solutions again and again, Power Automate has a great feature as custom connectors. So if I just edit this, you can see all details. Here in the first step, I just call Graph. And in the security part, I choose identifier as Azure Active Directory. So I just put my tenant ID, app ID, secret here. And after that, in the definition, I'm calling Graph API here. So instead of calling Graph in HTTP connector, I'm just calling Graph inside of the connector. So if I want to reuse it again somewhere else, then I'm just going to call my own build a custom connector. So here, this is the To-Do. And after that, when this is done, I just create a flow for myself and I call my own custom connector in the flow. Here, I build this flow using recurrence. You can just send these notifications like every day at 10. I just put a start time because I'm triggering manually, but you can receive these tasks every morning and so on, however you like. Next, I just call the to-do tasks custom connector with account I selected, and I parse the entire data. So this to-do tasks are getting me a huge data with all details about my each and every task, with the start date, end date, the importance level, everything is included in this data. What I'm going to do is I'll create an array to keep titles only. In this case, I'm just going to get titles of each and every task and put it in an array. And the only final thing we do is just putting my tasks array in the options so that I will see title of my tasks in the options as a button on Teams. If someone clicks on any of the options, any of the tasks, I just check which title it is. And when we find the selected title, then rest is just showing more details about that. So that's it. Let's just test it. It seems quite simple, but it saves a lot of time for many things. And here I got notification already, and it's showing me, good morning, these are your tasks. And if I click any of them, then it will just bring me more details about my task. So think of just combining everything else, like emails, tasks, calendar in one place. That would be awesome, and you don't need to go in between applications. And building this in Power Platform is quite easy because there are a lot of flexible things we can use. There's not only one way to build stuff, and you can use whichever way is more convenient for you. Just to show you everything I shared so far, these are the resources: GraphDocs, Explorer, and then using built-in components from M365. Next, if you want to call another Graph API, but it's not available as built-in, go ahead and call it in HTTP. Or if you want to build your own custom connector, there's a great tutorial under Graph. And with that, I think I'm done. I just want to thank everyone. And I'll be sharing these links with you. I'll be tweeting about it, and I already share with the organizers, so they will post it somewhere.
That was awesome. Aicha, thank you so much. By the way, I'm going to use all my new powers for evil. So I'm just going to cancel all my meetings and schedule naps and coffee breaks. That sounds like a great idea. And I bet half this audience can do that too. So thank you for enabling our delinquency. That was awesome. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Long time, Donna. It's nice to be here.
Seriously. Yeah, that was an awesome talk. And I love how you're bringing together like the two clouds, M365 and Power Automate, and showing how Microsoft products really do work better together. That's the point. So that's why we're having this conference. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna.